And everybody, so we got our new artwork. We worked on Carl earlier today, so now we're going to work on James. We had James in this outfit earlier, but he's got new arms and he's got a desk now. So let's take a peek and see what we got. Okay, I think, so the first thing I kind of see, you warned me that you thought maybe you did these ones wrong. So if his default is all the way in, we're going to want them to get shorter and then longer the other way. So I'm going to turn because when his arm opens up, it's going to open up this way, right? Okay, so let's just close everything. So we'd go default, then O2. Okay, so O2 should be that way. Then we'd go donut, which is always 1. And those would be the other way. And then it would go 2 longer, 3 longer, 4 longer. Very close, very close. Okay, so in my head, he's going to start here from default. It's going to 3-dimension to the donut and then off to that side. And his gesturing arm will be this long one here. And then this one will open this way. So I don't think we're ever going to want anything. He's not in total profile view, right? So it would be natural kind of to open them forward, but we don't have front hands for everything unless maybe you did that and I just messed everything up. Let me actually just go, no, it's just my regular hand set. So I'm gonna try it this way. But yeah, everything is named right as far as I can see. We've got, I'm just gonna, I don't know why it sometimes put copy and sometimes not put copy. That's sort of not a consistent thing. I'm just gonna take those out for myself. And then the other thing I do, see how this is still named group, but we know it's actually Forearm 02, so I'm just going to call it 02 in there. This one's 5, and that's just so when we pull it into Character Animator, we don't get those unnamed things when they're actually like Forearm 3, 2. I did some of them earlier when I noticed. Okay, so I think that hand's good to go. We're likely going to have the issue where we're going to want to change, so let's actually go look at that right now. So on 5, let's go into Forearm 5 in isolation mode and see if our hands are upside down. No, they're going to be right. Awesome. Okay. Nice, so those went smooth. So then because I flipped those, then the one that might be incorrect then would be 02. So let's go into that one and look and make sure that they're the right way. Okay, and that one open up. Yeah, so this one needs to be flipped. Reflect horizontal because they were facing the right direction. Okay, and then we might have, oops, we might have that same issue if we go into default now. Okay, so default is correct. Yeah, so We'll lock default because we know that one's right, and we'll just flip these. So we want to go object transform. Oops, we want to select them from here. I don't know why I have a tendency to select them from. Why are they not? Okay, and then so now let's vanish those. Okay, awesome. And now I'm going to pull out and line up these forearms. There's probably an easier way, like I don't claim to know Illustrator very good, like probably there's a way to like line these up more precisely than how I'm doing it, but wireframe works for me. Make sure you grab all of them. These, I noticed you already have them on the right layer. So you've already put them in the right forearms, and that all looks good, and everything's all named properly. When you open it up, you see hands in 4, hands in 5, hands in 6, hands in default hands that has everything. Okay. So these ones I'm going to grab and line up, and then rotate them. And we're going to want those to open out this way. Before we do that, let's just see which way our hands are pointing. So I'll hide everything but 5. Okay, so before I rotate, flip them, so object transform reflect, but vertical this time. And now when I rotate them, my hand should be facing in the right direction. Okay, and I think those are done. Those were, having them even if they're on the right layer and just tucked off on the side, worked really good, Sandy. So and then I think everything was a copy paste from our previous puppet except for the arms. So in theory, James Blue R should be ready to pull in and rig. So we'll go into rig mode and open up James Blue R. Alright, so let's start with our main behavior. So first thing I do is rename dragger to right hand. I'll add a second dragger, and rename it our left hand. I will add Lumi K, and I will add auto blink. That is my 11 behaviors done. Then I want to tag frontal as frontal and head, and I'm just going to move that to where I want that to pivot from. That might bite me in the butt later. And then head I want to tag as head and also add face behavior, and I want to make sure it's independent and attached where I want it to pivot from. Okay, then I'm going to go on to face base, and we might have the same issue. It doesn't like the two-color beard for some reason. We'll see how it works today. I had to set it all the way down to 2 last time we did his face, but normally you can have it set much higher, but we'll see how it goes. Then I want to go into right eye and tag right eyeball. I want to go into left eye and tag left eyeball. I want to create my mask. Mask is already in there. So I go to right eye, puppet, create clipping mask, and that'll just prevent his eyeball from sliding off the side of his face. Let's see. We want to do our ears. So left ear and right ear. We want to add face behavior to and tag as head, and then make sure that they're connected. Yes. Yes. And then it's the right ear, I think, that we want moving at -150, and then the other one is on top, so that one can move with the head, so we'll move that to +150. Okay, and on head, I want to set head position strength to 0, head scale strength to 0. On frontal, what's happening here? I think I got a bit of a lag. Oh, that's why I forgot to rename it. Okay, so this face behavior, so on the parent layer, that face behavior I'm going to rename to torso. And that's the one I'm going to set. So let's find torso in here, and I'll set that one head position strength to 0, head scale strength also to 0. Okay, let's do our rigging of the rest of the body. So I'm going to rig my left arm. Come on now. Okay, and this one there's a little debate where I'm going to put the dragger, but likely we're going to want to wiggle him from this side. Like, I don't think he'll do much motioning here. Maybe if he's saying to myself, and then we might have it might be hard to turn it that way, but I'm just going to do it the way I normally do it and see how much movement and stuff we get after it's all put together. Sorry, I don't know if you can hear the mowers. Miami has beautiful yards. Everybody mows every day. Which is nice to look at, but oops. Okay, again, we might have to go in and shift those. I think this arm's going to be a little easier because it doesn't have the transition arm that we'll be tempted to use. And then have issues with our dragger. We'll see how it goes. Each puppet, like, it would be nice in a way if all the puppets rigged up exactly the same. You'd be like super quick at it. But yeah, even after a year, I still find some puppets come together super easily and nice, and others just take hours of fiddling with them to get them to move nice. Okay, I see another issue that I can fix right away, and that's that his shoes should be over his pants and they're under his pants. So I'll go back and fix that. So down here, so we'll just go into his left leg and put his left foot at the top of the group, and we'll do the same on his right leg. Put his right foot at the top of the group. There, and that looks a little better. Save changes to get them to populate through. There, that fixed. Okay, so left leg, same drill, we'll hook it up. I was around a bunch of little kids the other day, and I feel like I might be getting a little bit of a cold. Surprise, surprise. Okay, so that's all rigged up. Okay, so the next thing I'm gonna do, let's go back to fit. The next thing I'll do I dare put in the rigging for the desk already? Okay, so on the parent layer, the origin point low. Then on the named level, I'm going to put the fixed tag. And I'm going to pull the name above the fixed tag. Then I'm going to go into desks, and that has to be attached below the fixed line. And then the other one, I think that needs to be below the fixed line. Is that one. So let's just move that even lower just in case it's that. Okay, so according to my notes, and this afternoon, they were nice fresh notes. Hopefully, when we pull it in, the head and shoulders will move, the desk won't move, and it'll pivot at the correct spot. If not, we know go in and check where our desk layer is and where our frontal layer is. I'm certain that the fixed is on the right line. Okay, so we're ready to do our swap sets. So let's go back into head. First swap set I always do is brows. I'm going to name my surprise brows 1 like I always do, and latch like I always do. In brows surprised, we always have the 2 cycle layers. Awesome. So we'll highlight those and go cycle layers. Down here I'm going to select cycle every 2 frames. On forward and reverse, hold on last layer. Okay, brows are done. Yeah, and then he doesn't have any fancy rigging on his hair. Okay, so body. what did we do his tie on? We want his tie wiggly, so that's one other thing that we might as well fix right away. His tie is on his torso layer. So I'm going to name that tie. I'm going to name this shirt. And if I remember correctly, we wanted tie, we'll call this base. We wanted tie on his collar layer. Ooh, here's a new issue. Have we ever had anyone with a tie behind the desk? Okay, so the tie has to be on the torso layer. Otherwise, it will be in front of the desk. Okay, so then my solution to that would be, I'm going to take a second tie and put it in base, but I'm going to cut this one off right at the top. So let's enter isolation mode. Whew, all little things you just don't think of. That's it completely didn't cross my mind that that would be an issue. Okay, so let's take my eraser tool. Where did you go, eraser tool? Like that, I think should work, right? And now when we go into AI, his torso. Come on, update. Would that work on a layer by itself? Yeah, why wouldn't it? Okay. All right. Sorry, I sidetracked myself. So let's make our swap sets for the arms. I'm going to do my left forearms first. We've got default. So normally I always pick donut. Yeah, neither of no, he has donut as a default. So for this set of puppets, I'm gonna choose 3 as my get it on the timeline default. So left forearms are done. These have all of them, so we'll pull it in and call it left hands. Okay, so I have 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're just pulling every instance. Each forearm has the same hand set on it. So I'm just pulling each instance into the hand swap set. So then when we have open palm, it should always be displaying open palm when we have open gesture. just to double check, yeah, they all got swap set. Okay, so left hand swap set is completed. I just like to twirl these closed so when I go back in here it's not like chaos. And left arm is completed. So right arm, we'll pull in our right forearm swap set. We're gonna make 3 our random choice. I always make it A and latch it. We'll pull in our default. Let's just make sure we got open everything and default. So we'll pull in our first example, rename it right hands. And then open gesture, I'll make Z. Did I do that for left hands? No, I didn't. Open gesture is always L for left hand, and latch. Okay, and we want that on default. We want that on default. Okay. Swap sets are done, I think. So now, as long as I've rigged the desk correctly, we're ready to start farting around with this puppet already. Having the artwork semi-created like that has really been a boon for me for time saving. I'm not having to name every layer myself and get everything on the right layer. I'm not an Illustrator expert by any means, so. All right, let's pull it in and see how we did. Come on, yay, good notes. Okay, and he's even pivoting where I want. So yeah, in a perfect world, you get that every time. So he just is working exactly how I expected to when we pulled him in. Oh, I'm so relieved. My heart is actually pounding a little bit. It was really embarrassing to me this afternoon when I couldn't even do my own method. All right, so I'm gonna get everything on the timeline by turning everything off. I'm gonna activate only triggers, and then that's why I always use the same keys. I know it's Z, A, L, P, 1. Oh, I was going to use the hotkeys. Control 2. Bonk! I've got a 2-frame take of all my triggers on the timeline, and I'm just going to drag those out so we can see them a little bit better. And I'm just going to delete all those gestures just to save confusion. So yeah, now everything's on my timeline. When I want to change his brows, they're there. When I want to change his hands and wrists and everything, yeah, he went together nice and smoothly. Now comes the trick. Did we get our arms correct? So what I'm expecting when I put the forearms together is we'll have a transition forearm, the donut, and then they'll open out this way. And when he talks, he'll probably be gesturing out this way and this way. Hopefully that's how we want him to work. He is adjustable because we do have these two here. So if we decided that we only wanted him gesturing like with him in front, let's just activate the hands. So if we wanted him only gesturing, see how he's going to be hard to turn in this hand, I would just move the dragger from this side to this side, and then we'd have more control. But because the dragger's on this side, it'll be quite a bit harder when his arm is on that side. But anyway, let's put our forearms on and see how we did. So left forearms, I'm going to start with O2, Control Shift D, so it would go O2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so O2, 1, 2. Yay, so that moves exactly how I expected. So remember, we only have default hand in the default hand folder. So if we went to Forearm 2's hand folder, default hand isn't in there. That's why it's disappearing. So I'm just going to put on open gestures so we can see if we've got our hands in the right direction. So that one has to be switched. That one is good. That one is good. That one is good. Okay, so Forearm 2. Forearm O2, left forearm O2. So left forearm O2. Let's go into there in isolation mode. And those we're going to want to flip horizontal, I think. And because we're not renaming anything, we shouldn't lose our rigging. Okay, you know what, I'm just going to have to go in and put that in manually. It might be that we can't use that transition hand, like, you know what I'm actually going to do is put in default hand. So I think O2 is always going to be default. Yeah, that might work better. Let's just go in and see if we can do that manually. So let's go back into O2. Because you'd be seeing the front of the hand here. Yeah, our solution for this is that it's going to have to stay on the default hand. That's okay. I've had puppets like that before. So we'll go into default and we'll pull a copy of the default hand into there. And then let's go back into isolation mode. We'll shy everything except for default hand. Select only default hand. Okay, and now because we added a hand to the swap set, we're going to have to go back into rig mode. So see now you can see them both. That's because it's always going to be showing because it's not part of the swap set. So that was his left arm, left forearm, O2. Default, and you can see it doesn't have the little hand there, so we want to go to left hands and drag it onto default. Okay, so now when I'm doing the forearms pass, I'm just going to have to remember that it to not select a hand. Well, let's line that up too. That looks terrible. Okay, so to do that, I'm going to go into left forearms. In isolation mode, I will hide everything but O2. yeah, these were in the right spot, but because I had to flip them, they just need a few micro adjustments here and there. But they're looking pretty good. This puppet went together really nice and smooth, far easier than the one earlier today. Just because I didn't have to cry about the desk. What a treat when Character Animator works right. It's really such a pleasure to use this program. It's when it doesn't work as expected that you just want to thump it right across the room. It is one of the most frustrating programs to learn, because I just never knew, why is it doing this? I don't understand. But when it works as expected, it's just kind of thrilling. Okay, so yeah, I'm just going to keep it on default for the O2 and then switch. You know what, I'm going to add it to the O1 set as well. I think that'll be a nicer transition. We don't have to use it, but I think it'll be a nicer transition. So that was default left. So on 1, I'm also going to add default to the hand set. See, it's so nice when you drag and it doesn't put copy. I don't know why it occasionally puts copy there, but it's really, I wish it wouldn't. If I wanted copy, I would name it copy. Okay, so we'll shy everything except for default and select just default. Okay, and again, we added a new hand to the swap set, so it's going to show up all the time until, or to the hand set, it'll show up all the time until we add it into the swap set once Character Animator updates. Come on now. Okay, so let's go back into rig mode. We added it to Forearm 1. There's default without a little thing, so we're going to drop it in left hand's default. Yeah, so I'll still be able to see it on the timeline when I select open gesture, because that's part of the default handset. Ooh, even though they're going to be backwards, that's really going to drive me a bit crazy, but I'll know that they display correctly when they get to the right side. And then when I do my forearms pass, I'm going to put in one frame 02, 01, and then I'll drop in the gesture. So the gesture will take place there. So I'm also thinking that 5 is going to be far too long again, even though it moves really nice. Look at that great extension. That is what you're looking for. Like, his arm does whatever I want it to without too much deforming. We got lucky on that. Too bad Forearm 5 is too long. Okay, so we'll end on Forearm 4. Again, it worked out just nice. Got the draggers in the right spot. And it worked good. So I think, like, when he's talking, we might even want to end on Forearm 3, actually, because it's a bit foreshortened. That's going to be a judgment call. Like, when we pull it in with the background, let's zoom out a little bit and see. Yeah, you know, I think we're just going to want to stick with Forearm 3. So that means, so it'll move like this. Yeah, that looks good. And then most of his draggies will be out from here, I think, or that's how I'm visualizing it, because the other guy's going to be sitting over here. Okay, so that arm worked good. Let's go try out our right forearm. So same drill. I'm gonna go, I think default is 1, but let's just start on 1 and see. Yeah, and that was as expected, and I think we can get away with forearm 5 a lot easier. Obviously I'm going to want to move those all to the right spot. Again, that's because I had to flip some of them and move them. They were lined up correctly, I think. Whichever arm that you did was lined up correctly initially. Okay, so let's go back in. That's his right arm, so we'll go back. Sorry, there's a lot of Illustrator stuff before we get to the character animator part, but it's so important that you name everything correctly and everything is lined up correctly, and then the puppet just works like a dream when you get that. So it's worth taking this extra time right now. Okay, so I'm going to shy everything, and we'll start with 5. I guess it's good practice. I want to learn Illustrator better. I think that's one of my weak links, is that I get really dependent on the artist to make these tweaks for me, because they could do it in 5 seconds, and if I knew Illustrator better, I could just quickly do it myself. So yeah, there's a few times where it would have just been really great to know Illustrator a little better anyway. So spending this time in Illustrator doesn't feel like a waste of time to me. But if you tuned in to watch me work on Character Animator, you might be wondering. Although if you work on Character Animator yourself, you'll understand. Okay, so those are all lined up. Things should move a little bit better. And see an update. Yeah, we're going to want to move his stiffen his arm a little bit here. His left arm is good, his right. Yeah, we'll just want to fart around with these a little bit. I think we can get them in a little bit nicer position, and I think we're going to want this more up like that. Not quite as nice on the pivot point, is it? Let's see if we can do better yet. Yeah, that's a lot better. He likely won't be doing much bigger than this. If we wanted him to, then I would just move his bicep down. Oh yeah, that's why we have the little issue with the tie here. So you can see his arm is cutting into his tie, so I have to make that part a little bit longer. Shoot. Yeah, so the tie behind the desk, that's kind of a new one. I think we had ladies behind a desk in the last one. And I just forgot to make his tie movable in the last one, but we want his tie movable. But you can see it's his bicep is cutting in. So I think instead of jimming around with all that, what I'm going to do is actually just take a moon-sized chunk out of his bicep, because that's covered anyway. Let's see if that's an easier solution. So let's go to his right bicep. Let's go into isolation mode. And I'll just take the eraser tool and take a chunk out. So as long as I didn't take too big of a chunk. Oh, that's what I was worried about. I took too big of a chunk. So let's go back into right bicep. And take a smaller chunk if we can. It might not be the solution because the way everything moves, but we'll try we'll try that. You know what? Let's just do it instead of taking a chunk. Let's just, oops. Take a proper, you know, so if it does show, it just looks like maybe a bend or a fold in the cloth. Let's try that. Yeah, there. So that, oh no, it didn't quite solve all our problems. Okay, so then the solution, then that's going to be hard to replicate, so let's just take tie and move another copy in. Delete the old tie. And cut that off a little bit longer. Just a little bit worried when it swings now that it'll, we'll see the break in the tie. Yeah, so see, we already see the break in the tie. The tie is going to be a bit of a piglet if we want it to move. It doesn't have to move, it's just a nice to have. If it didn't have to move, we'd just put it on the collar layer and be done with it. Like cut it off and be done with it. So why didn't that line up nicer is what I can't quite figure out. See how it's lined up nicely in there? So it should line up perfectly because he hasn't moved yet, and when we go in here, see how it is not lined up perfectly, but why? Mystery already. So yeah, if we want his tie wiggling behind the table, it has to be on the torso layer. Let's see if we can get away with a smaller, didn't I already try this though? Let's delete that and start fresh, so delete that little bit. So now when we go in, our issue is that his bicep is over his tie. Is anyone gonna notice besides me and Sandy? Okay, well, I'm gonna try and erase just a little bit more of his bicep. I think that's our best solution, actually. So enter isolation mode, we'll just shave off another little chunk. And if we do it kind of going at the right angle, hopefully it's not too noticeable. Just gotta do a nicer job than that. I think that should work for us. Hopefully that's shaved off enough. Yeah, like he's not going to be gesturing in towards himself very often. He's way more often going to be gesturing out. All right, I'm happy with that. Did I put his arms on hinge? I've made, oh. Okay, so that's just a little crash. Doesn't like it when you change too many things. I'll just reopen it. Yeah, so that works as expected. So his forearms, let's put on an actual forearm and see if we got all our forearms correct. I don't know why those ended up in between the frames, but I don't like that. I like it on the frames there. Yay! Awesome, so I think this puppet is also pretty much ready to go. Let's turn on everything but triggers so we can see. Oh yeah, I was gonna go in and check left arm and right arm. They're still on weld instead of hinge, and we like them on hinge because then they move with the body. Yeah, as your arms would do naturally. Yay! And the desk didn't move. Yay! This puppet came together really nice and smooth. Hi, viewer. Say hi and stream. So we were gonna do a mouth pass test on him. So Sandy made great mouths. We'll see how much jaw flappy. Last time we used this head, we had to have jaw flappy set at 2, I believe. So let's pull in. I imported my sound files earlier. Hopefully I imported the correct ones this time. So we're gonna start with 05, James and Carl.
Carl, when you give...
Yeah, so that same problem. It just doesn't like this beard. My only thought is maybe that they're 2 color. So one kind of sad downfall, because we had to create a new puppet because he had all these brand new arms, is we've lost a few of, we had manually gone in and changed those in the lip sync, but all I'll do is open the old project, write down my manual jaw adjustments, and then come back in and input them later. But this obviously is going to be have to down at 2% again. So it's going to look funny because this little space here, until I go in and manually adjust the jaws. But let's see.
When you give someone feedback, what are you really trying to do?
I'm trying to let him know what I think about him, I guess.
So he looks great. He's pretty much ready to go. Did we check our brows? Oh yeah, I've got triggers turned off. So surprise brows look great. His eyes are working great. Let's check parallax. Oh, let's put it up to 200 because he looked really nice with his good parallax there. Maybe 200's a little bit high, but I think that's what I had it set on the other one. And then the other thing I did was turn down. He moves really nice right now, but he's so jiggly. When it's time to do the acting, we're gonna find his head way too jiggly. Okay, I don't have to move much, and so let's go all the way out. Yeah, so he is good to animate. I'm not quite sure how long I've been streaming. I like to keep them around an hour. But yeah, we are basically ready, I think, to animate these 2 characters. So just because we can, let's pull in the other character, Carl. So that's how they'll look. I wonder if I've got the wrong view for Carl. I was expecting Carl to be looking at him, so potentially I'm still waiting for the right Carl view, because I think this is Carl from the front, and I've got James from the side, James from the side. But that's the 2 characters that we've rigged today. They're so cool. I'm just going to turn on my microphone so that he lip syncs when I talk. I love it when they do that. That was a big thrill to me when I first got working mouths and everything, how they lip synced. So let's turn him off and let's activate James instead. Now James is talking like me. And I'll just turn off my microphone so I don't accidentally record it. Yeah, so there's our 2 puppets that we rigged today. So I hope you learned something. I certainly did. I learned how to do the desks again. So now see how their desks don't match. Maybe these are the 2 right puppets. And let's say that Carl is actually supposed to be way off to the side, so we'll move him off to the side. Oops. And we'll just have to line up the desks. So what I'll likely do is make a swap set for the desk and put in just a little piece of the desk that's lined up with our background artwork, and then the same with for James. I'll put in a little piece of his desk and line it up with the background artwork. But yeah, definitely doing the desks for sure was the trickiest part for me again in these, and I can't believe how many puppets I've made with desks that don't move, and I still have a problem with it. And like when I first started, I thought, well, all you have to do is not make it independent and then it won't move. Yeah, then it moves with the torso. So if you make it independent, and then I thought, don't attach it to anything, but then it moves with the head. And then I thought, well, I'll just pin it down, and then I got warps everywhere. So yeah, making the desk not move, I thought would be an easy thing when I started, like when I said, oh yeah, I could do that. And then I started trying to do it, and it turned out to be way harder than I thought. And I still struggle with it a little bit, but I keep at it because I know it can be done. Yeah, so maybe what I'll do is I'll just contact the other people involved in the project and make sure I've got the right artwork with the right sound files. And if it is, we'll want to add the desks in now. So yeah, maybe I'll take at least a half-hour break, and if you're interested, I'll be back again probably in an hour or so. Thanks, stream. Have a great evening.